What's going on YouTube? This is Punk Rock Matt with another action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Figma Femto from Berserk. Hands down my favorite manga. Got this guy just the other day from Hobbylink Japan for $68.75. What's that, you ask? How tall is he? Let's find out. 6.5 inches. 16 centimeters. And now it's just about my favorite time of any review. Size comparisons. Seriously though, this matters so much to me when I'm looking for a figure. Here he is next to Figma's Guts, the Black Swordsman version, which to me is the most important figure Femto would be matched up against. And they look nice against each other. Femto is maybe just a little tiny bit taller. Here he is next to Figuarts Kamen Rider Double, Star Wars Black Series Kylo Ren, and of course Marvel Legends Daredevil. Now as far as accessories go, it's got a lot of hands. Some nice sculpt work on those. They interchange very easily. That's pretty much it, besides his wings / cape, which, if you haven't been able to tell so far, is kind of a bitch to pose. And I know that it's not just that I put the wings in wrong or I'm just stupid and don't know how to pose my figure. You know, I've seen guys like D Amazing on Instagram. He's got this figure. His shoulders look a little wonky, and there's some gaps sometimes. That guy's like a posing master. These wings or cape or whatever, they're kind of cool, but the articulation for it doesn't add much. And they're very heavy, and they're kind of like the main thing that come with the figure, really. That's his big accessory. These wings. I don't know. I kind of have a hard time with them, but we'll get more onto that in a moment. So as we're starting up the articulation portion, we're just going to go into the wings first. They're on a Figma joint. Sockets in up here and into the back. So it's 2 swivels and a hinge. And then same down here. So you can swivel that. There's 2 pieces that are like this, and really nice painting and everything on here. And each individual piece isn't that heavy. You can see how it goes onto the shoulder there. And like, you don't get a ton up this way. You do get some back, but then it does make it stick out a lot there. There's a lot of like gaps in this area. That's what bothers me. Take that off. Like I said, that hinges up and down. And then the back piece, which is what you put on first, there's actually a ball joint in there, which I'll show you in a moment. That has Figma hinge. This one's fairly heavy, but again, really nice paint detail and everything. Okay, there's actually a ball joint in there, and then this one's just a, socket and plug. Straighten him all out here. Let you get a good look at him. All stripped down. So the base figure, while not without its flaws, is actually really nice overall. They killed it with that head sculpt. Check out those eyes. That like stone cold look on his face. Look good with the helmet and everything, and the paintwork is fantastic. They even, they sculpted his cock. I mean, that's kind of crazy, a little gross, but they didn't shy away from it. They weren't like, oh, some kid might buy this. We shouldn't sculpt the penis. Like, no, if someone's buying this, hopefully they know what it's from. They sculpted the penis. I applaud them. Also, one thing I'll mention real quick is when the figure came in the package, it came with these 3 of these bars in the areas where his wings plug into to keep the holes from shrinking. I did think that was nice because they are fairly easy to get in, although a little tricky to get out. Anyway, as far as articulation goes, he does have a Figma joint here in the neck. It works fairly well, but it's not exactly everything I'd like for it to be. The one on the actual base of the neck's a little restricted too, but, you know, that happens. I mean, I'd love for it to be a little more mobile, but it's not like just ridiculously bad or anything. Shoulders and everything are pretty good. There's a ball joint inside there, and then the rest of a Figma joint in this part. Standard Figma at the elbow, standard Figma joint at the wrist. We have ball joint, upper abdomen, lower abdomen too. This part is fairly soft. I did pull in this piece right here into the thigh like that, and it kind of bent it inward and made it funky looking for a little bit, but it did bounce back, but just be conscious of that. The hips are really nice. There's a ball joint right there, and then a socket joint right there, and it gives for some pretty great movement through there. Figma joint at the knee. The ankles, I think, are just a little bit thin, and there is like no rocker to speak of. And with feet this big, you'd like for him to be able to get some ankle pivot to really complete that pose, But it's just not there. Also, with this joint in the toe, I know maybe it's supposed to be down that way. That's kind of like what's on the box. I don't know. It seems a little flimsy, and maybe it's because I am doing it the wrong way. Maybe it is supposed to be more this way. But I feel like it could break if you fuck around with it too much. Now, on his own, despite having 0 ankle pivot, he can stand up okay. Problem comes in when you have all this cape on him. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, the cape kind of acts as a stand, and sure, it does in a normal standing pose and maybe crouching. But if you try to do something dynamic, something in the realm of this, for instance, it's heavy. This thing is heavy. This was me working with this for quite a while, trying to recreate a pose from the box where he's running, and it's just really, really difficult. I mean, I'm not trying to make this look like infomercial, sitting down with a meal, and dropping it everywhere difficult, but I mean, it is kind of a challenge. Like, posing this cape is a bitch, and it's way heavy and a lot of room for the stand and everything, and it's not totally impossible, but it's a lot more work than other figures, and I don't know, it's kind of a pain. This is the running pose I was talking about, by the way. Speaking of which, a little bit of preview of the rest of the God Hand. Posing options and stuff. The problem is that when you look at some of these, you don't see a bunch of gaps in that cape. In real life, it is not like that. It's not completely impossible to get him in some decent poses, but it is more of a struggle than I think it should be. And I think this cape/wings combo, it just isn't quite what I wanted it to be, I guess. I feel like instead of the articulated cape. They should have just done 2 fixed position capes, one kind of folded over and hanging down and the other draped out. And then for the deluxe version, instead of that egg he's being birthed from, 4 capes. You know, make them of lighter weight material and some cool poses, and there you go. You've got an awesome, awesome figure. But what do I know? I'm just some guy. So to sum up this figure, I actually think he is decent. He's got some great paintwork, some really good sculpting. Some of the stuff is questionable, and obviously I think the cape is kind of an issue, but the base figure itself is really solid. And I'm definitely not, regretting purchasing it or anything. I'm a big fan of Berserk, and if you are as well, this is definitely something to think about adding to your collection, no doubt. But if you are someone who takes a lot of, pictures of figures and stuff like that, this cape is just something to definitely keep in mind, because, you do end up having to pull off some MySpace or Facebook angles, if you know what I'm talking about. Well, as you probably saw in the box, they are making the rest of the God Hand. I probably am not going to get them because I will bet they all have the same problems. I bet Slan's wings are going to be a huge pain in the ass. And I think Void, he's nothing but this, pretty much, except for a head and hands. So I will just stick to Femto, the antagonist I hate the most in a lot of ways, I'm not going to lie. I've never owned a figure of a character I've hated so much. But, like I said, I don't regret getting him. He is a really solid figure overall. Hopefully, it is kind of a different thing than making figures of the God Hand. I'm hoping we're going to see some more stuff from Figma in the Berserk line. I'd love to see Shirk, Sidro, Serpico, even Farnese in some way. I'm not sure I'd buy a Farnese figure, but it'd be cool if there was one. People out there. Definitely Zod. I'd love to see another figure of Guts with the white hair and the Berserk armor, just not activated, like the one that exists. But hopefully we'll definitely see some more Berserk figures in the future. It's definitely not a huge property over in Japan, but it does have its following. And, this is an example of it. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hoped it helped you make up your mind. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.